We are here. Hello! Welcome to episode 7 of Pocket Draft Knits. It is lovely to have you back, or have you here, depending on whether you're returning or new. I'm Rachel, and shall we grab a drink? Have a chat? We're not on hot drinks. Normally I say cuppa. I've not been drinking enough water, so we're on Vimto. It's my compromise. I hope everyone is well. I am a little bit out of sorts. I've gone fortnightly. That would assume that I do this regularly. I haven't recorded for 2 weeks. Purely because it's the summer holidays, and last week I didn't have a lot to talk about. Plus, we had just had Giraffe Day, and I was a bit tired and a bit ugh. So we had a quiet one instead, and I knitted, and as a result, have some things to show you. Nothing finished. Don't get your hopes up. I have some stuff to show you. Not loads. It's the school holidays. My routine is completely shot. I don't know about anybody else. I love having my kids around. You know that naggy bit? Not a fan. But they are, on the whole, my kids are brilliant and I can't complain. They're not currently here. It's just the furry baby that's here at the moment. She's downstairs listening to dog bark and worrying that the children have gone out. They've gone to see Grandad for a bit, which gives me the opportunity to speak to you guys instead. But just not having that get up, take the kids to school, or take the youngest to school, Joshua, he's 8. Abigail is in secondary school. She takes herself. I'm not walking my 12, nearly 13-year-old. Nearly 13 next month. But I'm not walking her to school. That would be social suicide, right? Anyway, but I get up, I take Josh to school, I come back, I do what needs to be done. Glasses on my face. We'll get to the glasses saga later. And then we have lunch, I have my medication, I sit down, I talk to you guys, I edit, blah, blah, blah. And I just don't have that routine at the moment because we're doing different things. Like yesterday we went out, nothing exciting. I was just like, come on, let's go out for lunch. It's raining. You've been cooped up all day. Let's go somewhere for lunch. So we popped out just for a little bit, just to get a change of scenery. It is very autumnal. The light's going to come and change and you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. This is not a professional production. Everyone's going to be fine. However, we then popped into a supermarket, school uniform time. So I thought that I can get some trousers for Joshua in there. They'll be on offer. Popped in, got my wheelchair out the car. Actually getting my own wheelchair out of my car, I hurt myself. Wrote myself off for the rest of the day, which has made me feel really bad because Wednesdays is normally when the kids go to kickboxing, and this summer, because of various different things, they've not been, and I feel awful that my body is the reason they're not going. My husband doesn't drive, and I like to go, you know, it's a mum that I don't know, and it's very frustrating. Very frustrating. When I've got my routine, I don't do that as often. Such is the life of a mum with a disability, I suppose. Anyway, last week, as I said, was draft day, but I think I'm going to talk about all of that at the end, so that we can talk about knitting. For the people that just want to listen to the knitting, we can talk about the rest of it later, can't we? So let's start. I have a finished object on. Now, it's not something I finished like this week. This is something I've had made for a little while. One sec while I lift myself up. It's a little necklace. It is a crocheted necklace. So you start with what, like a little bezel? I think that's the word. Like a bead. And then you crochet around the edge and join it all up. This has used Stylecraft batik, which is let's use this hand there, and it's actually a design by a wonderful crocheter called Sue Pinner. She's brilliant. I've been to a couple of her workshops, and I actually went on a retreat a couple of years ago, 18 months ago, which was fabulous in Wales. She's lovely. She's everything I thought an arty, crafty lady would be. Very, very talented, and actually came into it a bit later on in her life. She'd done sort of bridal design and stuff like that beforehand, and this is actually something she does now. She's retired, but she is lovely. I will link below her link to her blog and the link directly to this pattern. I think it's on there. She has a Facebook group as well. She's absolutely brilliant, and her Facebook group's lovely. It's got some really like loyal fans who know her work really, really well. But she has some sort of, if you can master this part, you will master many different sections of starting points for some of Sue's patterns. And she has some real little Sue related, and I'm not going to give it away on here because that's not fair, it's her work. But I absolutely love this. I've made a couple as gifts for people. It doesn't take me very long to make them, but I absolutely love them, and I've made them with different yarns and stuff like that. But I love the batik because it's got this sort of tonal aspect to it, and all of the different colours. So sort of if you took that one out, that one would work, and they all sort of, that would work with the teal that you can see over there, or you could have used a grey and used the colour around it. You know, I could have done the dark grey and the light grey and then edged it maybe with the purple or the teal. You could have one for every outfit. And I absolutely love stuff like that that's really versatile. And I have got kind of like quite a loose jersey dress on today, which is kind of my style, particularly when it's a bit cooler. I just love a basic dress that you can use or a basic t-shirt, you know, just jeans and a basic top, and you can use that to show off so much of your work. And Sue has some fantastic, she's got sort of like ponchos and things like that. A sort of camp, I think she calls hers the camper cardigan. That is on my must make list. I'm going to make little granny squares and I'm going to make them into a cardigan. That is one of my dream makes. I love stuff like that, but just having that basic wardrobe, it also means you're cutting down, you can buy better quality, which means you're cutting down on your, I'm just flashing some sort of strap there. You can buy better quality basics, which means you buy less. So it's cutting down that slow fashion thing, and I'm all about that. Is it 52 tons per family? I can't remember the actual numbers, but it is a horrific amount of clothing that we create. And I'm very conscious that my children, it's the curse of me. I have borderline personality disorder. I've spoken about it several times. It is a mental health condition which I can only explain as extremes. There are aspects of black and white I love or I hate, which makes my reviews honest. But one of the things is that I give 100% to whatever I do, which can be positive. That makes me a good employee, unless you ask me to divide my priorities. And I'm a mother. And I found it increasingly difficult to put my children second when I had to put work first. And I know every single working mother out there will understand that, because it's hard. But it had an impact on my behaviours because of my personality disorder, which at the time was undiagnosed. And one of the things I found very, very difficult was my kids getting home from school. I didn't know any of their friends. I didn't know any of their friends' mums. I didn't even know what their teachers looked like until the first parents' evening, which can sometimes be sort of January. So that was a horrible feeling. One sec. I have ulcers all in my mouth, and ugh, it's really drying, isn't it? Anyway, so I used to buy them a lot of clothes because I popped to the supermarket to pick stuff up for dinner. and I buy them clothes. And they have had very extensive wardrobes. And we've scaled that back a lot more now. And I'm learning the value of basics. It's harder with a tween, nearly teen, because obviously she wants to shop in fashion. Sorry, there was a very good dog walking down the alleyway in front of my house. Had to stop and look at the dog. It's a really good dog. Yeah, so, but for myself, I also obviously had a work wardrobe and a coat. No, I don't have that. So I'm kind of just finding my middle ground and finding my identity as a mother that lives at home. All mothers. Right, let's think about this. Finding this as a stay-at-home mum. Mums live at home. All people live in their homes. Well done, Rachel. Right. Yeah, so I had to find my identity. And it's been a journey. I feel like I'm kind of a bit more solid than I used to be. I went to see a psychiatric liaison psychiatrist, which is where they meet the mental health and the physical aspects of health together. Oh, do we like them? They're very pretty. I know, thank you. And that's given me some food for thought. While I wait the entire 1 year of the time that I will have to wait before I can see anybody, I like to have a read and have a think and stuff like that. And I feel like I've kind of reached a point where I'm ill. I have my illnesses. However, I am a bit more solid in who I am. And that I think I express through what I wear. I don't know if that makes sense. And little things like, I like these and I'm going to put them on with something base. And I'm sort of using my wardrobe to combine my identity and my creativity, because my creativity has been a core part of who I am right from the very beginning of this whole disability journey. It saved my life, gave me something to think about when I was suicidal, gave me something to distract me with. It's given me something that makes me feel purposeful. It's given me something to help me cope when I can't sleep because I'm in pain. It's given me something to distract me. It's given me something to make me feel proud of myself. It's given me something that other people admire about me. And so now, as I'm making more that I wear for myself, and I've become a bit more selfish about my making, I can now fit things in. And this was something I picked up as a technique right at the beginning of this journey. In fact, Sue Pinner's workshop with Stylecraft up in Yorkshire was my very first venture to see strangers since I got poorly. It was the very first thing I did. When I say on my own, I was on the phone to my dad the whole way up. My dad and my husband all the way up and all the way back while I was driving. So technically wasn't alone in my own mind, but I was alone in actual physical person. And it was the very first time I'd done anything like that, especially in my wheelchair. But I did it. And that set me up on a journey. So it has a story, a 5-minute long story. It has a story. It's a talking point. People comment. It makes me feel nice because I can go, oh, thank you, I made it. None of this, oh, yeah, it's just something I made. No, we don't do that. It's Gigi. Gigi made it. She's the one that says, watch your mouth. Because what you say, your heart feels and your mind believes. And she said that recently. And I am taking that as a mantra because it's true. When someone says to you, that's brilliant, that's lovely, where did you get that? You don't say, oh, it's just something I made. Say it. Go, oh, thanks. Actually, I made this myself. It's a pattern by and all of that. You can say those things. You can deflect it that way if you feel uncomfortable. But, oh my goodness, take the credit because you should. So that is my finished object that I am proud of. have another finished object that isn't a recently finished object. We're going to come on to it in a moment because it ties into something else. My knitting fails, of which there have been a number. I made this and I was so excited by this. This yarn is no longer produced by Hutch at Dye Candy. This is Led Zepp. It is, by all accounts, a intensely laborious dyeing process. Isn't it stunning though? I'm going to have to frog it. It's a mama vertebrae. I'm going to put it on. I did the sleeves and something else because it was the first garment I'd knitted out of skeins and I thought it was going to run out. You can kind of see the problem already. I thought it was going to run out and I thought that this would make a nice contrast. And this was just something I had in stash. Shall we drink before we choke? It's a mama vertebrae. Now, if I put it on like that, it kind of looks like it's okay. But that's not where it's supposed to sit. It's supposed to sit a bit further back. There's nothing wrong with the pattern. I haven't made any knitting mistake. It's my body. It's not designed for my body. Shall we have a little moment where... Do you want to look at my boobs? It kind of tucks. Can you... I don't know if you can see. It kind of... It folds around my arms. So... basically becomes armpit wear at the front, which is not great. It comes right around my back. I've not knit the wrong size. I've measured it. It looks all right like this, and I do slow about in it. I needed to decrease about 8 million times more. A little fade there. I was quite proud of that. Superwash stretches, guys. This was something I learnt post knitting and after blocking. Possibly something I should have looked up first. I knit this and I was like, oh, it's not quite long enough. Oh, it's not quite long enough. I needed to probably allow myself an inch. Just hit myself in the face. It's going well. A couple of inches to allow it when I blocked it, or not to be so brutal when I blocked it. Now, my mum has reassured me that I could wash it and block it and blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to do that because it's going to need washing again, isn't it? And then I'm going to have to do the whole thing again. Right, take it off because it's like still August. Whilst it's autumnal looking, it's not autumnal in temperature. Right. So it's the mama vertebrae and the yarn is Led Zepp. You can message Hutch if you like. She's not going to make it for you because no. I think she made it and she loved it and everybody loved it and then she fell out of love with it and I don't blame her. If it's laborious, you don't want to keep making things, do you? First time alternating skeins, did it wrong. And it just does not fit. It is not the right shape for my body. Now, I like a waterfall cardigan, but I do, you can probably see it, I have quite broad shoulders. I have swimmer's shoulders, my mum tells me, which makes me feel better about it. But I'm not a swimmer. But I do have quite broad shoulders. It's always affected things like shirts and things like that. Can have a bit of a poppy, inappropriate place situation. And I am quite hourglass in that I have broad shoulders, I do go in at the waist and I have quite broad hips. I'm kind of like that triangle and the pear because I carry weight in both. Thanks, body. But this is just not the pattern for me. I think I could have done more. Now I know a bit more about garments. I could have done more increases at the front in order to bring it round a bit more. It's just not for me. I'm sure it is for far more people. The yarn is gorgeous and because it's not made anymore, I'm not wasting it, but I do not wear this. However, it was a lesson for me, and that's why this is important. This was a lesson, I'm just checking my notes, in smells of sheep. I've washed it and blocked it and everything, but yours just kind of get that. Anyway, Rachel, focus woman, right. In superwash, it's stretchy. Not massively. It's not like alpaca because it has some memory, which is why if I washed it and reblocked it, that could change it. And that's why some people do the danger thing of chucking it in the tumble dryer. I'm not doing that because I will forget. I forget that I've made cups of tea. I spend my entire day looking for drinks that I've made unless they're right next to me all the time. I spend a lot of time if I go out anywhere going, where's Joshua? Where's Izzy? Where's Abby? Izzy's the dog, by the way. Where's Abby? And they're there. Where did they go? They've gone to the toilet. They told you 3 times. Oh, okay. So, yeah, putting something in the tumble dryer, I would actually have to sit in front of the tumble dryer with a timer, and I'd probably still get distracted. I'd go, oh, well, while the time's on, I'll just go on Instagram. Anyway, that is my knitting fail. It's a mama vertebrae. The yarn's by Hutch. Don't ask her for it. That's mean. It needs to be frogged. Don't know what I'm going to make it into. I may use this as a contrast with something. I don't know. I will come up with something. Just throw it on the pile over there. There's a big pile of laundry that my children have not tidied. Hiccup. How rude. I apologise. I apparently don't have any manners or any idea what I'm doing today. And I'm 20 minutes in and I'm not getting any better. Thanks for sticking with me. So that is a knitting fail. An epic fail. I loved it when I first made it. And then I just realised that it just didn't fit. I love the colours, that's what it is. But it just doesn't fit me. It's not even something that I can kind of curl up in because of the way the front fits. So I'm really going to have to think about. I've still got a little bit of yarn left over. Like I didn't actually use all of the yarn that I had. I don't know. I don't have any particular plans for it, which is why it's still there in its form, haunting me and reminding me that I completely balls that up. But it is a lesson in take into account. If you're like me and you like to live on the dangerous side of life, and by the dangerous side of life, I mean you put 2 sugars in your tea, sometimes you stay up a little bit late and do just watch that one more episode when you have somewhere to be, and you don't watch because life's too short. What I do is I tend to measure after I've knitted a little bit, just check a point where I wouldn't be too heartbroken if I had to frog it. And if you're not going to swatch and you are going to be like me, I wouldn't advise it. There's a lot of pain. I'm sorry, I just kicked them. See, there's a lot of pain and do stupid stuff and falling downstairs. I do that a lot. Yeah, don't be like me. But if you aren't going to swatch, bear it in mind when you knit your garments. If you do, you will measure your stuff. Or get to know your own knitting. And that was one of the very first things that I had knit out of hand-dyed yarn. It was my very first encounter with 100% superwash merino. Oh, there was a little bit of nylon in there, but it was my first experience of merino nylon. Normally I'd used acrylic up until that point. So there you go, that's a lesson you can learn on me. It has, however, shaped how I've knit this, which is my cat issue, which is Yarn Flakes, Audrey, who is a gorgeous human being. I'll show you when I've finished untangling it from the mess that I've just made. It's out next week, and I will show you it in all its beautiful glory when it's out next week. However, I will just kind of go, the yarn is by the project bag. Myra. It's beautiful. Myra is his name. I put all of this relevant stuff down here because I'm just showing my nails off. Did you see that? It's very clever. I put it all down here. You can see my mistake. Let's hide that. I'll show you that in a minute. So it's got this beautiful lace. Can you see? No, because it's not blocked. But it's got a beautiful lace pattern. It's beautiful. And there's my mistake. We'll talk about that in a minute. Our sleeve. See those safety pins? They mark my decreases. Would you like a handy hint? I have to do a set amount of decreases. Not going to tell you how many because it's in the pattern. It's a paid for pattern and I'm testing it in it. So on my first decrease, I hang the number of decreases in like a paper chain of stitch markers. I use safety pins. So I've got like 100 of these and I just count out the amount of decreases, chain them all together. I can get my children to do that now because they're bigger, but you can chain them all together. And then each time I do a decrease, I take one off the end and then I just keep going. Do my next decrease, take another one off until I've got none left. I know I've done all my decreases. That was a handy hint I learned from somebody else. I couldn't tell you who for the life of me because I'm an idiot and I've forgotten. But it's a handy hint nonetheless. And that's how you know to do your sleeve decreases. I am obviously on my last sleeve island, so I'm recording this to avoid doing it. And I dropped a bloody stitch. And I was knitting on this one and I went back to the start of my little chain to get my, can I just show you this ribbon? It's not just boring old ribbon, it's just gorgeous. I never fly through one by one ribbon ever, especially not one by one, you know, where you knit through the back loop. I can't think of the name of it. Twisted rib, because it's fiddly. Never fly through it, but I did with this. It kept it interesting and it's beautiful and oh my god, it's just so, this is going to be a staple in my wardrobe. The yarn is perfect. Oh, I've never been so excited about a garment. I hate knitting sleeves. Anyway, I thought I'd do the sleeves before I did the neckline. The logic in that was I wanted my sleeves to be a certain length. I can always adapt how deep my neckline is. And I have a little bit of a nugget of yarn left if I need a bit of extra, but I would panic about my sleeves. I always do. I always have enough yarn. I always panic about my sleeves. So I'm doing my sleeve and I go back to get my little chain, drink, to get one of my little chains, and I noticed it's a funny looking stitch. It's not a stitch. I've dropped a bugger. So it had dropped all the way down here. So I picked it up, but it's a bit tight there. I'm hoping it's going to block out. Can you see? Because there's quite a lot of greedy stitches here, and these are obviously starved stitches. I've got a stitch marker. I've pulled it right up to the neckline. So when I catch my stitch, thank goodness I didn't do the neckline though, because I would have had, what would I have done? So I'm hoping that I can do my neckline and catch it to go along. It fits. It's snug at the moment. Like, it hasn't got quite as much ease as it should, which means when I block it, it's going to have the perfect amount of ease because I learned from my Led Zepp fail. I said clever. Hiccup. I'm not clever. I have learned from my mistake, and so I'm giving it to you for free so you don't have to make the mistake to learn from. Did you see all my chins there? They were beautiful, weren't they? I've got great chins. I had extra coffee before I came up. I think you can tell. Right, so I am on this sleeve. I'm using higher sharps. I tried those short ones, you know, that are just the width. These hands cannot do that fiddliness. I do not knit like that. They're not for me. So I'm using Magic Loop because DPNs, that is way too many things for me to drop. That is going to end in disaster, I know myself. 2 sticks, 1 cord, Magic Loop, we're all good. I have to admit, I like circular knitting because there's no seaming at the end. I always worry I'm going to ruin my garment when I sew up. However, I like a sewn up garment too. I like one that's done in bits because I actually prefer knitting sleeves and seaming them. Unpopular view, I know, but I do. It's just, I think it's because that's how I learned to knit. It's how I saw my mum knitting. But I bloody love this pattern. It comes out on the 21st of August. I'm going to put a link down below to the project in Ravelry, and I'm going to put a link to the pattern. By the time that it comes out next week, I will have a finished object to show you, and it will be on the week that this comes out. It is stunning. I've seen finished ones. I've seen, obviously, my own. I have loved every single second of knitting this. It is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful pattern. I literally cannot recommend it enough. I am knitting to the tiniest part of the deadline as a test knitter. The school holidays have just utterly sabotaged everything to do with my knitting at the moment. And my crochet. Like, crochet is just not on the scene at the moment because of children. I love my kids. Like, please don't get me wrong. But Abs is reading Anne Frank's diary. Good for her. I'm also reading Anne Frank's diary. I haven't read a word of the book. She hasn't read a word of the book to me. She's just told me every single thing she has written or read. She reads about half a paragraph and comes to tell me about it. And as much as I am glad she's enthusiastic about it, I don't need to know that much. I've read it before in my past. But I don't want to discourage her. Joshua is suddenly discovering Lego. He's got a new hamster, and he's coming to tell me every 30 seconds what the hamster's doing, which 90% of the time it's sleeping, but she's so cute. So it just sort of, you don't get into a flow of doing anything. Yesterday, Abby says, can I do some baking? But I'm going to do it myself. And I bought myself a packet mix with my pocket money. And I was like, okay, you don't really need me then. I'll just get the mixer down. You're nearly 13. I'm sure you can, I'll put stuff in the oven for you. How much is 180 mils of water, Mum? 180 mils? Yeah, but what does it look like? We'll get the jug where it says 150, and then there's some lines, and then there's 200, and pick the line and fill it up. What does that look like? I don't know if it looks like it. I'll come out and look, shall I? How much shall I put in the cupcake cases, Mum? How much does it say? About 2/3 into each one. We'll put 2/3 into each one. Is that 2/3, Mum? Yeah, that's 2/3. Oh. What about this one? Does it look about the same as the other one? Yeah. That'll be right then. What about this? Shall I just come and do it, Abby? Yeah, please. Are they cooked yet, Mum? What does it say you're looking for? A bit like that. Is that what they look like? No, they're not cooked then yet, are they? They're still wet, Mum. They're definitely not cooked yet then. Shall I? Thought you needed me to get stuff in and out of the oven. Oh, no. Mum, could you come and have a look? But the cakes were good. I must have done it to my mum at some point. I must have driven her absolutely insane. We all do it, don't we? I wanted them. But yeah, it's just slowed me down a bit. So I anticipated having had more done before they finished school, and just didn't work out that way. So, but I've only got this to do. That'll be done in the next couple of days. And it's just lush, and I cannot recommend the pattern enough. She has some other really beautiful, she's just got the most beautiful style. It's very classic without being plain. It's the sort of things that will be staples in your wardrobe. She's on Instagram. Her Instagram's beautiful. It's Yarn Flakes. And everything she does has just got these little features. Like, even the ribbing's not plain, but it's not so complex that you can't relax into it. Beautiful. And on that note, that's that done. My other little work in progress, if you remember, I had started my Yarndale cardigan, and I have bought the pattern. Now, the Yarndale cardigan, Yarndale don't do a uniform. They don't do anything like that. It's not like Rhinebeck where there's like a sweater or there's a particular fashion. It's not that. This started with Knit Nottingham. I think a couple of them who were going together, on the coach trip that Eleanor runs or ran, she's not doing it again next year, they all knitted the same pattern. And then it became a bit of a thing of everybody going on the coach trip, and it became the thing that they picked on yarn shop day. Back in the room. Sorry, it does this thing where it's like, you can't record for any longer. Anyway, so this year, Eleanor, I said, I want to do it. I'll be there on a Saturday, but I'm going up with my mum and we're going up for the whole weekend. But I want to join in, and I'm coming to yarn shop day. So I went to yarn shop day, I helped pick the pattern, I went back, I bought the pattern, I bought the yarn, supporting the local business. I mean, theoretically, I could have had that drink when I paused the camera. But hey, who cares, right? So we picked that pattern. I think she's still got copies in the shop. You can always email her. And my beautiful daughter has started knitting, and I showed you last week, and she's knitting this version. She's not coming to Yarndale, but she just wanted to. She started knitting a while ago. She's picked it back up, and I said to her to push herself and do something a bit different, which she's doing. She's doing wonderfully. And if you watched last week, I messed up my feather and fan, which is a kind of beginner lace, I suppose. And I messed it up. But I had to have a little break from my other work in progress because I'd kind of got to that frustrated stage, and I was avoiding doing anything but knit because I had got bored, basically. Not of the pattern, I hate knitting sleeves in the round. Just hate doing it. I should probably just work out and knit them and seam them, but shut up, Rachel. Anyway, I messed up feather and fan. I had to rip it back, had to put a load of stitch markers in to remind me. There's no stitch markers now because I finished my bit of feather and fan look, and it's beauteous. I have knit this in King Cole Subtle Drifter. It is in the pinky colourway. Cerise, I don't know what it's called. Didn't bring the ball band up. I mean, I brought the pattern. Let's just be pleased I did that part. It's gorgeous. It's not a fully solid colour. Maybe it is. I don't know, it just feels a bit kind of, there's definitely a strand. I don't know if this is going to pick it up. Don't look at my face. Look. Yeah, look, you can see there's definitely a strand in it that's ever so slightly lighter. You can see. Oh, I looked pale for a second then, didn't I? I am pale. I'm ginger. It's the whole cardigan. Like, this is not just the back. It's not going to be mahoosive like the other one, but it is a V-neck cardigan, so it's going to come around the front. It's not going to fall off my shoulders, and it's not going to be an armpit cardigan. Doing the thing with the chins again. I'm proud of it. I've grown this. A lot of work gone into growing that chin. I don't care. My body has survived a lot, you know. Shall we just have a walk? Let's have a talk about body positivity for a second. I have fallen down the stairs 8 times. 3 of them have resulted in me going to hospital because I fully knocked myself out. I've been hurt in an incident which left me using a wheelchair. I've given birth to 2 children. One of them I had a life-threatening illness. One of them nearly died within me. That's left me with a bit of an overhang. And you know what? I'm proud of that. I grew 2 babies. And if somebody said to me, 21-year-old me, if you have a baby, it's going to leave you with this big overhang and loads of stretch marks and 4 stone heavier than you were before you had kids, do you still want to do it? Do you know what I'd say? Absolutely. My kids are amazing. They do my head in, don't get me wrong, but I'm probably sure I do theirs in. I don't care if it's big. I don't care if I'm big. I do care if I'm big, but I'm learning not to. I've survived no end. I was suicidal, and now I'm not. I've put up with a lot in my life. I'm sure other people have put up with more, but I'm proud of my body and everything that it's achieved. Chins and all, and overhang and wobbly bits. I'm sure my kids don't look at me and go, she's got a wobbly bit. They look at me and go, that's my mum. And they always smile and give me a hug when they see me. There's a man with very interesting sunglasses over there, and he's wandering around like a right weirdo. Anyway, yeah, when I'm 85 and I look back at this, touch wood that I get to 85, I'm certainly not going to be looking back and going, oh my goodness, I had so many gym. I'm going to be pleased I did this. So it is big, but it's to go around my whole me. I've started this. I've got like to go to, it's like 46 centimeters or something like that. It's a paid for pattern. I'm not going to tell you anymore. If you want the number of the pattern, it's 5365. King Cole patterns are amazing because you always get two. For example, this is one that I picked up while I was there. This is actually, it's a bit of a cheat because it's not two different ones. That's a short one and that's a longer version. Sometimes you get two totally different ones. This one is one that I'm going to do for my dad. I've done the back, just on the front now. So I'm going to do that one and then I'm going to knit that one for Joshua. How good is that? So I do love King Cole patterns for that. And I know the paper pattern format is not as modern, but it does support the yarn. It does support designers who design for them. And it does support independent bricks and mortar shops, which build a community, don't they? And they're very important for people like myself. I don't get out much. There's more to it than that, but I'm waffling on, right? So hopefully I'm going to finish the sleeve of that cardigan in the next couple of days. I'm going to whack a load more on that, and I'm going to do more on Joshua's flax. That is my plan for the next week. That's my plan. Okay. So that is knitting over and done with. That's all you're here for. Hold on one moment. I love writing almost as much as I love talking, which I know sounds almost impossible. And I have set up, but not added anything to, pocketgiraffeknits.wordpress.com. And I shall be adding bits and pieces to that. Some of it will be just basic interest stuff. A lot of it will be sharing some of the stuff that inspires me, some of the other stuff that I make or do outside of just what I show you on here. Little trips and stuff that I do, just stuff. But some of it will be talking in a little bit more depth about my life with, I'm sorry, there's another good dog walking. My life with disability and mental health, because it's sometimes easier to sit at 3 a.m. and articulate that worry and that anxiety that's going on in your head. And I'm also going to start doing some interviews. I have spoken to a couple of dyers who I think would make very interesting discussions. Here comes the dog. I would like to talk to them about their journey and their fibre journey and how here she is to knock everything over. Could you just not? Just hello. Just little hairy arsehole. Hello. Yes, that is that swearing bit. That's what I call my dog. Her name is Izzy, but she responds to dickhead. Anyway, please stay. So I'm going to do some of those. I also want to talk to people, different ages, different abilities, people who've had maybe not a conventional journey or a very conventional journey into knitting, because I just like to, I don't know, share some more stories. How knitting has helped you with your mental health, how knitting has helped you with your disability, how knitting helps people you work with. I don't know. I'd like to talk to some other people just other than me. So I might have a visitor here at some point, and they won't be as long as me waffling on it normally is. And I'm going to do some writing, and I'm going to do some shorter things, long enough for me to get some content in there for you about maybe knitting tips and hints, crochet tips and hints, just little things. And also a little bit more about disability as a highlight, as a little spotlight, but long enough that they can also, short enough that they can go on IGTV. But because of that, and I've had a couple of people send me messages, dog, yeah, I've had a couple of people, oh, the dog's so distracting, I'm so sorry. I've had a couple of people send me some messages asking if I'd got a Ko-fi account, Kofi, which I don't. But once I get my blog up and running and I've done a couple of these interviews ready to upload, I don't want to do Patreon. I support some people on there and it's fabulous. I don't want to do that. I don't feel that I have a platform worthy of that, or that I could at the moment give you what you would deserve for that financial input. But if people who have contacted me and said, I appreciate what you're talking about, and so on and so forth, then you can buy me a coffee, basically. And I would be more than grateful for that. I am disabled. The things that caused me to become disabled, my mental health and my disabilities, do prevent me from working. And I will need a new wheelchair at some point. That is what that would go towards. Or support, so that I have something to talk to you about. And I can continue to talk to you about how this helped me. I'm so sorry. There's like people coming and going in my eye line. I really need a blind. I'm so sorry. But yeah, so I can continue to talk to you about those sorts of things. The more I do this, the more comfortable I get with this, the more I have the ability to share with you. And so that will be there. Hopefully, maybe, depending on how obliging my children are with giving me the time to do it, it will be up for the time next week. If not, I'll give you a bit of an update. So yeah, last thing I wanted to talk about was the exhibitor list isn't completely out yet, but I will be at Yarndale at the end of September, going with my mum. Mum is actually, I'm not going with my mum, mum's taking me. Bless her heart, she's paying for the hotel and the tickets and everything. And so I have been saving rogue £5 notes in order to buy things. That is the way I save. I save all year, and I have to dip into it a lot. But where there is a bit of spare £5 note, it goes into my little hidey hole. And that is how I have been saving for it. And that's how I afford to go to any event that I go to. I do know Ishrat from Fruitful Fusions. You would think somebody with the name Rachel wouldn't have such an issue with ours. Anyway, Ishrat from Fruitful Fusions, is going to be vending. Oh, she's got, I'm not telling anybody which yarn it is because I don't want you to have it. I want a sweater quantity's worth of it. I am saving my husband's hard-earned pennies in order to buy. Please don't buy it. I can't tell you which one it is because you might buy it. It's beautiful. Oh, she has some really, really luscious yarns. There's also Lola from Third Vault Yarns as well. She has one. Oh, if she's taking it. Because I am on a yarn ban until I go because otherwise I can't afford it. I'm so excited. Oh my God, Lola has some beautiful yarns, but there's another one she's got. I'm not telling you which one it is because you might buy it and you're not allowed to buy it because I want it. It's fully beautiful. The dog is squeaking. I've got to go and let her out because she needs a wee. I'll be back in a minute. How rude. Oh no, I didn't. Oh, I'm not even editing this. I didn't even stop it. And so it would appear she didn't need the little toy, she just wanted attention. This is why I get nothing done. Right. The last thing I wanted to talk about was a little bit of yarn show disability advice. So, as you know, I am a wheelchair user. Now, I am what we call an ambulant wheelchair user. Does not mean I go around in a wheelchair that looks like an ambulance. Ambulant. So I can walk to an extent. Walk is an interesting term because I tend to waddle. And that walking is painful and not always reliable. I do fall a lot. I have crutches, I have a walking stick. So school run, which is 200 metres. I live close to the school. I'm sorry, I'm out of breath now because I've been hassled. Anyway, I can do that with my sticks. On a really good day, I can do it waddling. But I have to account for the fact that if I do that, I'm going to have a rest immediately afterwards. I might fall. It's a strong possibility that I'm going to fall. If I don't fall doing that, I probably will fall at some point in the day. So am I going to be alone all day? Because if I fall and I'm alone, that's not good. So yarn shows and stuff like that, they're not for walking with me. However, last year, somebody's very stubborn. I now have osteoarthritis in my knees and my hips. That's because last year I was really struggling with accepting that I was going to need to use a wheelchair for the rest of my life. Now, the wheelchair isn't a disability. Being a wheelchair user is not my disability. The disability is that the world is not set up for people who don't walk. That's the disability. The wrong wheelchair is disabling. The wheelchair that I have by courtesy of the NHS, had I not been in a position to get something out, would have been amazing, but unsuitable. It was too heavy. That was their lightweight option. I couldn't get it in and out of the car without somebody else. I couldn't push it for very long. I certainly couldn't have gone up a hill, even a slight hill. Yarndale would have been utterly impossible in that wheelchair on my own. So I was very fortunate that there was a sum of money that came out of me not having a job anymore and being disabled. You can make of that what you will. For legal reasons, I cannot discuss this anymore. And with some of that money, I was able to purchase a wheelchair. I got a discount, otherwise I wouldn't have been able to afford it. It's around £3,000. And that was out without certain additions that I had to have onto it. There's also obviously annual servicing, a bit like a car or your bike, having little bits replaced, I had to have new tyres recently. So yeah, not a cheap thing, but that's my independence. It allows me to go to the shop. It allows me an awful lot of normality, so long as people don't, stand so close they nearly sit on my knee, move me like I'm a shopping trolley, speak to me like I'm an idiot, hand my change to other people, ask the person I'm with how I am, ask my 8-year-old child what I'd like for my lunch rather than asking me. All of those things have happened. As I say, the world is not set up. So yarn shows can be frightening. Last year, obviously, I attempted with my crutches and walking, and I was very fortunate that an awful lot of the vendors are beautiful souls who, when I said, I really need a chair, can you help, had a chair. And when I say an awful lot of them, probably all of them, I just only had to ask a select few. And they were friggin' amazing. I cannot tell you how amazing the community is that we are part of when reached out to. So I cannot be more grateful for that. However, I do have long-lasting injuries from being a stubborn moo. The year before I went in my wheelchair, now, I have done the wall Monty in my wheelchair. That is probably the best in terms of accessibility that I have come across. I haven't done loads of shows. I haven't been to anywhere that has outdoor bits because the whole idea of the rain and getting stuck, and it gives me the fear. My mum is in her 60s. I don't want to ask her to push me. She would if I asked her, but I'm also heavy. Like, that's a big ask. I don't like asking my husband to do it because he's had a stroke and he has a bad back. People will do it, but I don't want to put that on them because I care about them. See what I mean? It's difficult. I'm not going to ask my kids. They're 8 and 12. They will do it if I'm stuck and I need some help. But the guilt that goes with that is vile. It's so crippling. It makes me not want to go out. Because I'm an independent 35-year-old woman. I don't want to ask people to do these things. I also don't want people to do it without being asked, because I wouldn't just come and take your hand and lead you when I assumed you were lost. So please don't assume people need help if they don't ask you. It's a difficult one, and I understand, that it's difficult to navigate how to help as well. It's hard, and there has to be a whole lot more conversation for it to happen properly. Anyway, I've done them in the big conference centres. Sometimes at the NEC and places like that, it can be a bit hit and miss, depends how busy it is. Often it's not the organisers and it's not the vendors that are the problem, it's actually the people there. There can be some very rude people. Huffing and puffing that you're in the way, huffing and puffing because they've got to wait 2 seconds, stepping over you, hitting you with things. Like, please try not to bang into wheelchairs. That is so painful. It becomes part of my body. So when you clunk my wheels, it's like hitting me with a bag. If you hit somebody with a bag, normally you'd apologise. You don't just walk past and go, well, what are you saying that for? Because it hurt me, love. But Yarndale in particular is a challenge because of the setting it is in. I have no idea how they can make it better. It is in a cattle market, sheep market. It's concrete. It's like on a slope that way. The setup is that way. So you're constantly fighting a camber. So if I'm going that way, I've got to fight this side so that I'm not leaning that way. And at the same time push this side to keep myself straight. So it's an awful strain on this arm in terms of turning, and it's a big strain on this arm in terms of pulling that way. So I'm constantly doing that. If I'm traveling the other way, it's the other problem. So because it goes that way and the tilt goes that way. On top of this, it's a concrete floor which has a lot of grooves going, I can't remember which direction they go in. They're for poo and wheeze. And I am sure they do absolutely everything they can to clean that area, but there is always a little bit of ugh, which is fine when you walk in. These are my feet. They are also my tools for holding sandwiches. So if you are going in a wheelchair, I use cycling gloves or weightlifting gloves. Don't buy something that's specifically for disabled people if you can avoid it, because often they overcharge you. Even with the 20% off, because you don't have to pay VAT, for things like gloves you usually do. And you are overcharged. Cycling gloves, padded gel bits are great. So mine at the minute have padded gel bit. They also have like a plasticky bit. It squeaks like buggery when you're going down a hill. I don't know if buggery squeaks, but you understand it's a turn of phrase. But they scream when you're going downhill, but they're grippy, which is good. They come to the ends of my fingers, but it keeps my palms relatively clean and pain-free. I'm not getting that pressure friction burn. I don't have that for my thumbs, so I do use zinc tape. Get it off of Amazon, not from Boots. The stuff on Amazon is better. It's also really good for breaking in Doc Martens. Army tip. army boots, apparently my brother told me. So I keep the zinc tape. Find somebody who sells lanolin, if you can use lanolin, because it's a great moisturiser to keep those calluses at bay, and also stops your skin from ripping because it creates a bit from overuse. The dog is whining because she wants attention again. So gloves. Antibac gel is an absolute must. Take some, wash your hands a lot and use antibac gel. I mean, generally do that because ew, germs, but also ew, sheep poo germs. They are your hands and your feet. So if you're going and you're self-propelling, look after your hands, because we knit with them. Can't knit with poorly hands. Deep heat gel if you're going afterwards, or biofreeze. They're both very good. If you can use Voltarol gel, even better. Ibuprofen gel, something like that, because your shoulders are going to hurt, your arms are going to hurt. So that's the advice I can give you for that. I cannot tell you it's going to be easy, because it's not. It is an amazing event. I have gone and enjoyed it. I understand there's a conversation about diversity and inclusion. I'm not talking about, it's not that I don't want to talk about it. I have spoken about stuff my last one. It's just that I'm going to focus on this right now. I have always enjoyed it. I keep going back, even though it's hard on my shoulders, so it must be worth going to. But there is a couple of disabled toilets. There's always a queue. They're well manned though. They do make sure that it is people with disabilities and not just people going in there because they want to poo in the normal toilets, which does happen. It's not radar keyed though. If you're ambulant and you are walking, there aren't as many pit stops as you would hope. There is usually the coffee area at the bottom of the hill, which is the big food place, and there is a lot of seating there. There is one if you go in and you go up to the top, there's one sort of in the back area, and then there's one that if you're going in the disability entrance, that is that way. It's still at the top of the slope if you're coming in the other way, and if you come in the other way, there is a little cafe area, often with queues needing standing. There are a couple of places to stop, but I can assure, if you've got a walker which comes with this sort of, that has the little area you could sit on, that might help. If you don't have those things, I am sure if you speak to 99.9 if not 100% of stallholders and you are struggling and you need somewhere to sit, or you are going to fall or cry, they will help you. This is yarny people. If they don't help you, I'll have a word, because that's not okay. Like, be a decent human. If you can, there's also the sort of knit and natter area. It's usually where Wool Warehouses and Lucy from Attic 24. It's where they put the Winwick mum's socks, and there's usually an area you can sit in there as well. But I think it's got steps into it. I've never got up there, to be honest, because wheelchair. And there are a couple of areas where there are little seating areas in amongst unused stalls. There was a call out for extra applicants. Now, I'm assuming that's because people have dropped out. I think it was Eden Cottage Yarns had to drop out for personal reasons, but they may also have taken the decision, in order to diversify a bit more, that they wanted to fill the space with that they had, which could mean that there is a couple less places to sit. I don't know. I'm not an organiser. I have not seen an exhibitor plan. I could be talking completely out of my backside. That's not unknown. I'm just saying from my perspective. That's my experience of Yarn Out. If you've got any other questions, pop a comment down here. You can email me. I always put my email address in the doofter. And you can instant message me on Instagram. I mean, you can find me on Facebook as well as Pocket Giraffe Knits. I'm not as good with Facebook as I am with Instagram. Or I'm Pocket Giraffe on Ravelry. You can find me on there. Also not as good with that. But yeah, So that is my experience of Yarndale. I am really looking forward to it. If you see me, please say hello, because that would be amazing. I've connected with people an awful lot via social media, and I will get really emotional if I explain how much it means to me. Being disabled can be very lonely. 1 second. She's back. She's still worried. Yeah, being disabled has the potential to be incredibly lonely. Like, I've lost friends because they're bored of the fact that I'm still ill, or that my anxiety just makes me go, yeah, I really want to do that, and then at the very last minute go, I can't. To have connected with people via this podcast, to have been able to talk openly about things that I find difficult or things that I have achieved, and to get such wonderful feedback and messages and support has been life-changing, genuinely life-changing. So if you see me in the wild, I would absolutely love for you to say hello, because it means more than I could ever put into words. It really, really does. I understand that as a community at the moment, we are going through quite a change, and that at times can be fraught. I'm sorry, I'm stroking the dog because she's getting me up. And that can be hard. It can be difficult to go through change. Change isn't supposed to be comfortable. We don't become better because it's easy. My husband has a phrase, is it right or is it easy? Often the two are not synonymous. And I agree with him. If it's not easy, it's probably right. But from a personal level, you guys saved me for a second time. I've not been suicidal, but I was low and I felt pointless, and I felt that I was floating. And to know that a community that I completely admire and I have worshipped, I've gone to Yarndale and been blown away and wished that there were people that I could bump into and go, oh my God, hi. And then I went to the Wilmonte and bumped into people and went, oh my God, hi. And then I get messages here. For that to continue, you're making one very I don't feel worthy of that love and the wonderful messages that I've had. But I can't thank you enough for them, because when I've been really low, you've picked me back up. And you've given me something to go forward with and a passion again, which I was very much missing in my life. And even my psychiatrist picked up that I was missing that. Oh, she's leaking. Oh, anyway, at least took a photo earlier. I can say I did look pretty. Don't let your disability, don't let your fear keep you away from this community. There are always bad eggs in places, but this place has got more good ones than I ever thought possible to have in one place. Reach out, I'll point you to some. You've made my life much more purposeful, and the dog's going to try and lick my face now because she does it every time I get upset. Stay down, darling. And I have some difficult stuff going off in the background. It's not me directly, but other people. And this has given me a bright light. And I'm 7 episodes in and I'm already bawling. If you're thinking of going to a yarn show, what have we got coming up? Perth, and Yarndale are the ones that jump into my mind. There's Nottingham Yarn Expo, that's coming up in November. There are, I'll find some others, I'll talk about them. Do it, because you're going to find some amazing people, and just give it a go. There are good ones out there, I promise. And you've given me a voice for my disability that's made me feel like it's a positive thing and not something to be ashamed of. So I'm now going to go and dry my face, going to knit on that bloody sleeve, and I'm going to let my kids know they can come back from Grandad's. They won't want to because Grandad's has ice cream. And I didn't finish the drink. Woo! This has probably been a long one. Thank you for listening to me cry. I hope your knitting keeps you happy. Please leave a comment, like, subscribe, so that we can carry on helping other people feel as lucky as I do. Mwah!